AI slop has unfortunately become a big part of dinosaur media. The internet is full of AI-generated images that range from laughable to nightmarish abominations. And let's not forget the hundreds of AI trailers for Jurassic World Rebirth, including the most infamous of all. So I was disappointed to learn today that upcoming dinosaur movie Primitive War has been using AI in their production process. And that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I don't consider this a news video, but more so a discussion video about the use of AI, in our dinosaur sphere specifically. In case you missed it, Primitive War is an upcoming movie still slated to come out this year based on the Primitive War novels by Ethan Pettis, which also has a comic book adaptation. Without getting too much into the story, it reimagines the Vietnam War to include dinosaurs, with a search and rescue team sent into the jungle in search of a missing platoon. It is very much not kid-friendly. The Jurassic franchise continues to dominate the dinosaur movie environment, but Primitive War is a welcome alternative for its very different take on the genre, with the movie expected to be much more faithful to its horror origins than the direction the Jurassic movies took compared to the novels. Of course, another big difference between the Jurassic franchise and Primitive War is the budget. Primitive War is an indie film, and to make an indie film comes with challenges and compromises that a studio like Universal could simply solve by throwing money at the problem. I'm not ignorant to the struggles of making something with little money to do so, and how a free AI tool can be a tempting solution. This video is not me bashing the creative team behind the film for making a choice that I disagree with, nor am I saying the movie is now doomed to suck or anything like that. I will still be watching the film when it comes out, with an open mind. But what actually happened? On March 10th, the writer and director of Primitive War teased that they would be releasing their concept art for the Deinonychus. Just like Jurassic World Rebirth avoided showing any dinosaurs for a long time, Primitive War had yet to reveal any of their dinosaur designs. Finally getting a first glimpse was an exciting prospect. Unfortunately, the image that was unveiled on their Patreon, which is a paid platform, was this image right here. The image was then shared on Twitter, where I and many others came across it. At first glance, it looks fine, I guess? Feathered dromaeosaurid? Okay, cool. But when you start to look at it more closely, you start to notice that it's off. And people were quick to realize that this concept art is actually an AI-generated image, and they're not happy about it. And I include myself in the not happy crowd. Before I get more into my issues with it, I want to first show you the response of the director, who explained that this AI image was used as concept art in early discussions on the color palette for the Deinonychus, and that the image does not reflect the final design. Part of a look-dev meeting into the feathers, color of the feathers, exploration of how they sit, etc. He didn't think the use of AI would offend anyone, he didn't intend to offend anyone, but apologizes nonetheless and announces no further concept art will be posted. Everyone should make up their own mind about whether they accept this use of AI or not. Again, I will say there are mitigating circumstances here. It's an indie film with limited resources, it was used for an internal early meeting on the design, and it doesn't represent the finished design. How much leeway you want to give them depends on your personal stance on AI, because not everyone will draw the line in the sand in the same place. What I can only do now is articulate my personal stance and why this disappointed me as much as it did. First of all, again, I understand that with limited budget, AI is a very tempting tool to use. But just because it's the cheap option doesn't make it the right option. Let's, for a moment, ignore how this impacts actual artists trying to make a living and just look at AI as a tool. The inherent danger is that when you use an AI image as a reference for brainstorming, even in the early stages, it's a slippery slope. Because AI, as advanced as it's getting, it's still inaccurate. And these mistakes might end up part of the DNA of later final iterations. This is how errors can easily sneak into final designs. But even more pressingly, AI is generative, not creative. What I'm understanding from the explanation of the director is that a team of people who lacked an artistic skill set sat around a table discussing what is ultimately an artistic decision. And to visualize their ideas, they had to resort to using an AI tool and type in their prompts. The AI tool just does what they tell it to. It gives no creative insight, no suggestions, no feedback, no corrections. It just scrapes the stolen art in its database and spits out whatever fits the prompt it was fed. Whereas giving an artist a seat at that table and asking them to draw these color palettes would have undoubtedly improved the process, because there would have been creative input there from someone who knows what they're doing, not just spitting out a prompt. And that does bring us back to how this use of AI affects hardworking, talented artists trying to make a living. They don't get a seat at the table anymore. They don't get the job anymore. And depressingly, their work is devalued this way. Because the message here is, why pay to have you sit at the table when this tool does your work for free? Which completely disrespects the value that real artists and real art brings. And yeah, an artist's time costs money, as it should, and money is limited on an indie film. I get that. But at the same time, in a community full of exceptionally talented paleo artists, I wonder if hiring one of them for these early concept arts and discussions would have really busted the budget. Because yeah, we're talking about an indie film here, but it is still a film. It's not someone in their bedroom making a fake Jurassic World Rebirth trailer for some YouTube ad revenue. Filmmaking is a form of art, and thus should, in my opinion, I don't think that's controversial to say, should involve, from start to finish, actual creative art. Not generative AI media made by a tool which takes away jobs from artists by essentially stealing from any artist who ever shared their art online. But I have one more gripe with this situation, perhaps one that most rubs me the wrong way. Because I get it, everyone feels differently about AI, and plenty of people, including the director himself, feels it's fine to use AI media as concept art in private meetings. Maybe you watching this are completely fine with that as well. That's okay. Everyone has their different take on it, right? But is it okay to use that soulless AI image to promote your movie on a platform people pay to use? Patreons support your work through monthly donations in return for behind-the-scenes sneak peeks, and you give them the first concept art of a dinosaur in your dinosaur movie, and it's an anatomically incorrect AI image? Of all the things you could have shared, all the actual human-made concept art that you hopefully have, you choose to share the image that a computer program spat out. Instead of giving this moment, giving this platform to the art made by an actual artist and giving them that moment in the sun and spreading their work and their name around and giving artists the credit that they deserve. If you want to use an AI tool in a closed-door early meeting, that's your call. I disagree, but whatever. But then to pick that image, that specific image, to put on Patreon, where people pay to see it, instead of proper concept art made by an actual artist, is that really a justifiable choice? Again, different people will have different opinions, but for me, that is a big no. Like all the mitigating circumstances that I mentioned earlier that sort of justify the use of an AI tool, they're not applicable here. Why did you choose to share? Why did you choose to platform this image as opposed to real art? I keep coming back to one word, and that is disappointing. It's just disappointing that they used AI. It's disappointing that they chose to share that AI. Again, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm still hopeful for this movie. I will still be seeing this. I'm just disappointed that this is the reality of this AI age, that it's everywhere, that it's becoming the norm. The more and more it's used, the more lifeless everything becomes, in my opinion. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because it's a big, disappointing direction, in my opinion. And I wanted to talk about that. Let me know in a comment down below what you think.